Look, I went for a short walk and it looks like I've been having a shower. It's so sweaty. But yeah, that's been like that. So no, I'll do a shortish video today. So the virtual signaling off the scale on Facebook today, and it's just like the Facebook thing is between two sets of lunatics. One who are obsessed with telling everybody that they're not racist, and another who thinks some guy is the new king of England, and they're the same people who fall for all the truth psyops like the flat Earth and stuff. The same personalities, and they use the same thing. It's just like a man who said he had bones of Native American children was going to arrest the Queen. Well, this guy now thinks he's the Queen or something. But the same people following identically, and they have no set. They have no intelligence. They have no. They're. I'm ashamed to be in the same alternative scene as them. They're so predictably stupid, and oh, he has legal documents. Who give what? Just go away. Go. Go join a Pentecostal church where you belong instead of like falling for every crackpot truth or theory that's put out there. Now, the thing is, like, people are putting black squares all over their Facebook page to prove how wonderful they are, and how perfect they are, and how unracist they are. It's sickening. It's absolutely sickening because it's so fake. 99% of people are not racist. They're not. But the lefties make it sound like 99% are racist. And this is because they have a stake in causing division so they can control society. It's a divide and conquer thing. This is the classic thing. Communism and is not it comes directly from the same world as Christianity, and is the Abrahamic religions: Muslims against Christians, Christians against Jews, Jews against Muslims. Now, communism comes from the same world, Abrahamic mindset, and therefore it's blacks against whites, Catholics against Protestants, Muslims against everyone else, and so on and so on and so on. It's divide and conquer, and it keeps the liberal classes and the affluent classes in power. So the bishops of today are secular, and they're things like, politicians and senior civil servants and bureaucrats. And they sit there while they get everyone to fight amongst each other, journalists as well. And uh, where are all these English people why didn't all these English people march, who are marching for Black Lives Matter? Why weren't they marching for that little English girl who was practically decapitated in front of her parents in a park in Bolton a few weeks ago? Where's the march for that? I mean, it's absolutely sickening. That's the fakery of it. It's like their virtue signaling has very specific demarcation lines. Where anything that's safe. Also, people are terrified of the truth. If that's what you learn by the time you're like 30, is that most people are terrified of the truth. They're terrified of reality, and they will go to extraordinary lengths not to confront reality. It's just how they are, because the reality contains the shadow. And you see things like what happened after the bombing at the Manchester Arena. Before the little girls' bodies were even counted, they were planning a rock concert, a pop festival, and there's Liam Gallagher in his orange jacket going, and that's all I cared about. Oh, look, he has an orange jacket and a grey. And meanwhile, little girls blown to bits by some jihadist. No one gives a shit about them, and it's because they can't deal with the reality of it. That would mean making decisions, and everyone's terrified to make a decision about anything anymore, and this is like, this is what we're dealing with. It's just no one wants to confront anything. Well, see, what's happening is basically reality is falling apart, and it has been for a while now. And it's so predictable, the implosion of reality. Like, remember yesterday I said that Obama would suddenly appear out of nowhere as the savior of America. Well, 2 hours later, after I made that video, he appeared at ABC News in America. Obama shows up with his guidelines, or his framework to restore America. I mean, he's acting like the president in default. It's amazing, but that's not because I'm a great, seer or anything like that. It's predictable what's happening. Reality is falling asunder, and I've noticed that for a while now, about 3 or 4 years. Things like the fact all these SJWs, they look like homunculi, and their bodies are twisted and distorted. If it's not natural, they do it. They're like a Triggly puff. They're not fully human. There's something not right there. And no matter what their ethnic background is, or race, or demographic, or gender, if they don't even have a gender, that's all part of this present reality falling asunder, falling apart. And it's great to observe. I'm going to make a prediction because of all the social turmoil in America. UFO sightings and flaps, not those kind of flaps. UFO sightings and weather anomalies will be off the scale for the next couple of weeks. And they'll probably last a few months, but they'll start around now, and people will be seeing UFOs, filming UFOs, anything like that. Again, the clouds will be all twisted and distorted. There'll be weird weather patterns. This is directly because of the psychic nature of people. When you have the tormented psyche of humans at the collective unconscious level and the collective conscious level, it projects itself as phantasms into the sky, as both, lights, dancing lights, balls, and maybe, if America was a Catholic country, it'd be definitely on having a Marian apparition. Might even happen somewhere. So keep an eye out for things like that. Sightings of the Virgin Mary, UFO flaps in America, bizarre weather patterns and clouds and phenomena, and that kind of thing. As realities, it's as Americans who are upset by what's going on, and you can't blame them, who are in the middle and who are not, or even ones who are caught up and are out of fear. I saw this family begging black people for forgiveness. This bunch of white people begging black people for forgiveness. That doesn't help anything. That's just mental illness. A lot has a fetish as well. I saw some, like a lot of it that's a sexual fetish. That's what that is. Those people down that went before those black folks begging for forgiveness for white people. That's S&M. That's BDSM. They want to be beaten, and they want to be they have sexual fantasies. That's what that's really about. It's nothing to do with anything like being a crazy liberal or anything. That's a sexual fantasy that they're living out, and which a lot of these kinds of things are. They are sexual fantasies or perversions that these people fetishes. Well, I'll say fetishes more than perversions. So Ireland in the corona thing Ireland now, the government have come out with their first part of their plan to build Irish society going forward. Announced today, in the wake of the lockdown, they're going to make it legal for children under the age of 16 to select their own gender without their parents' permission and get gender reassignment surgery. Yep, that's what's happening in Ireland today. That was the first law. That's the first thing they're moving on real fast in Ireland to help us get out, to restore the economy and all the problems we have from the lockdown. They're going to make sure that, like, if 9-year-olds want to change gender without their parents' permission or be talked into by a crazy Munchausen by proxy mother, they'll do it, and then I guess they'll commit suicide when they're older, stuff like that, when they realise what happened, well, what didn't happen really, and so that's great plans for the future. Our government has tremendous plans for the future of Ireland. Yeah, 4-year-olds can decide to change their gender if they want to. And that's what we're dealing with. That's what we're dealing with. And of course, there's a Black Lives Matter march in Dublin yesterday. A few thousand showed up, all standing next to each other. Every single last one of these heroes would have been the ones who had stay home, stay safe, or pointed at other people. You're not social distancing. And yet the heroes got a hero. They've got to be seen. They've got to be smug. They've got to be, look at me. My attention and virtue signaling needs matter. And that's what that's all about. And absolutely sickening, sickening. But these people don't have an internal world. They've no consciousness. You're not talking about, like, this is one of the problems people like us that leads to our frustrations with these issues, is that we project our own intelligence and inner world upon these people, and not realizing that they're not fully all there. They're not conscious. They're switched off meat robots who respond to triggers, and when they're triggering, that literally means they're triggering. That the program that runs their consciousness, runs their minds, or cognition, is triggered and by an outside stimuli, and that's all they are. And we often make a mistake, like, how can you say to yourself, how can they march for a fella who was killed in America, as horrible as that was, and then not be at all concerned about a little English girl who had her head chopped off in front of her parents in a park by a foreign immigrant? And you think to yourself, how can they not do it? And what we forget is that they don't have an internal world. They are literally just meat that responds. And this is what causes people like us tremendous frustration. How can they how can they go be dancing at the Manchester One Love concert when the little girls haven't even been buried yet? Uh, they don't think like that. This is the problem we make. We automatically assume that our internal world, that our internal dialogues and our thinking about things and trying to compare situational dynamics against one another is what they do in their heads. They don't have an inner voice. They don't have the ability to set the picture things in their mind's eye. They're literally meatheads. That's literally what they are. And this is why you can show them this stuff till they're blue in the face and nothing comes of it. Nothing. Because the simple reason is they don't have the cognition to go for it, to retain and process what you're telling them. Now, why they do it when the media does it is because they've been indoctrinated through their education system to to believe that the more influence or authority a voice has, the more real it is. So therefore, it has to be said by a politician or the newsreader or a journalist on TV or a TV host or a celebrity. This is why they need celebrities to tell them about politics and world issues, because a celebrity is famous, therefore they have authority, therefore they're bigger. But they cannot relate to someone like me or you saying, well, this is what I think it is, because we don't have authority. They haven't been programmed. The program in their mind hasn't been set up for that. And they go, I mean, I told you a few weeks ago that you could pull one of these protesters in London or in England, anywhere in England, aside and say, why didn't you? A little girl in England had her head chopped off in front of her parents in a park by a Muslim. Why aren't you outraged by that? And I go, uh, 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 uh. That's what I like. That's what I like. You might as well be talking to a stone. That's what. But yet they get outraged and triggered by the media because the media has authority. You don't. And therefore that means that they have to follow that. It's just like we must follow this. Trust the experts. Trust the experts. They don't see someone like us could say, hold on a second, you can't see the absurdity of a 17-year-old Swedish muppet who can barely string a sentence together being the world's expert on climate change. They can't because, well, she's on the telly. She's famous, so she's got authority. But you can't understand that she has no grounding in science and no reason to talk about this. But she's on television. She's the expert. But how could she be an expert if she doesn't have any kind of background in it? Uh, uh, uh. Now you tell me you don't meet those people. You tell me when you try to explain people about issues, especially since the COVID thing started, that you're not met with that reaction constantly. Mm, mm, mm. It's like the cognitive shrug. That's like what it is. You will encounter that more and more as this reality falls asunder, which thankfully, oh great, it's falling asunder. We can actually have our second renaissance. But yeah, that's what you're dealing with, and this is these people I like, and they're never going to change, and this is what causes tremendous growth. This is why I say, don't waste your time with people who are toxic. They will deplete you of the psychic energy you need to create a better world and life for yourself, because that is even down to the subatomic level they're affecting you. That's people who drain the life energy out of you. Also stay away from people trying to convert people. Bring them round to your way of thinking. That is the Christian thing. And what you're seeing with the whole Black Lives Matter, and that's a Christian crusade, even though they're all Marxists, they call themselves Marxists and communists. That's a homecoming Christian crusade. And that's what that is. And yeah, of course, every sane, decent person on this planet is disgusted about what was done to that man by the copper. And that copper definitely murdered him and definitely should face the murder charge. And of course, and the other coppers with him that let it happen. They should get, manslaughter charges at least. And but you don't need to go throw the planet into chaos and virtue signaling to make that, because they don't actually know what's right and wrong. Until the man on the television tells them it's right or wrong. Black Lives Matter. Black Lives Matter. They run a program. Stay indoors. Stay safe. Black Lives Matter. Stay indoors. Dumph. Ho, 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 ho. He's an idiot. Ho, 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 ho. Stay indoors. Save lives. Black Lives Matter. Oh, ho, ho. Trust the experts. That's what they are. You will never, ever reach them. Okay, and you will never. This is why I've been telling people for years: stop trying to wake people up. That's your Christian mind virus, assuming you're turning into some kind of crusade thing. And it's the same thing why all those dumbass truthers all believe that this guy now is the King of England. They hear the word king, they hear England, and they hear king, and the real King of England, and they hear Jesus bloodline. Oh, Jesus had authority. Truthers are NPCs too. Lots of them, and most of them are NPCs too. Authority, and as it, and what's the rationale for this? The coat of arms were taken off the front of Buckingham Palace. Yet these dumb, stupid motherfuckers can't look in the newspaper and find out that last week a truck crashed into the gates while they were and the plaques were being temporarily moved for repair. Oh no, you can't check that. Some guys did real King of England, and the proof is, they took the crest off the gates. And you have the audacity to call yourself woke up and waked and aware and call other people sheeple when it's just fucking thick you are. You haven't even got that in your head. And it's just, I mean, and this is why there's no hope for the alternative scene either. It's full of fuckers who believe that they go from the next one thing to the next thing. The next psyop, the next truth or psyop. And you always know it's a psyop because it suddenly gets huge amounts of hits, huge amounts of interest, and the same characters in alt media fall for it too. The same ones, exact same ones, because they're trying to make sure, hang on to their, keep business going, keep the business going, It's all about energy. Look, reality is falling apart, okay? All these things, all this absurdity, this theatre of the absurd that we live in, is part of it. It's happening at the subatomic level, moving upwards. This will affect everything from weather patterns to UFO sightings, to the homunculi of the homonucleus of the SJWs, the Trigglypuffs. Right, the Trigglypuffs, those types. The bodies are twisted and distorted. They don't know what gender they are. That's all part of the breakdown. The Irish government making it legal for little kids to decide what gender they want to be and get corrective surgery, and that's part of the breakdown from the subatomic level. It's breaking down, and it's wrecking their consciousness and their cognitions. They will go along with anything an authority figure tells them, because this is not an enlightened time. This is a time of great stagnation. Don't compare it to the Dark Ages, because the Dark Ages was actually an amazing time of Dark Ages was nearly as good as the Renaissance, because the Christianity was being destroyed. But this is, we're in a very similar time to what you had on the cusp of the Renaissance in Europe, where you had cities that were rat holes infected with plague, where people were not given doctors, they were given prayer, and that kind of thing, where there was endless witch hunts and witch trials and all kinds of sectarian conflict. And look at it now; it's exactly the same. And now there was like you plenty of UFO sightings. They called them devils in the sky back then, but there was plenty of them, and weird weather anomaly things. Reality breaks down every so often. It has to, it becomes because orthodoxy creates stagnation, and stagnation does not rebuild the new quantum universe. It does not build it, so it has to fall apart. Now, the ones who are quantum entangled with this, they will be destroyed along with it. That's, while usually these things take like events. The discovery of pagan artwork had a lot to do with the classical sculpture had a lot to do during building works. Now we're finding that again. There's lots of stories in the media about about things being found, old things being dug up, things being found, like classical mosaics and all this kind of stuff being found lately. And a lot of that is going on. So we are living in a time that you should be making great use of. This is some great art is going to come soon out of all this. You should be a part of this, writing poetry, painting, sculpture, digital art, whatever you're into. This is where, we're going to get some amazing stuff soon in the next few years. But the first of this dying reality and even when you look at the way politics is, it's very similar to what it was in Europe as well at that time. It's tumbling into the void. Literally, reality is being boiled at the subatomic level, and useful information is being removed. And that's why you have all these distorted people who are distorted and very unattractive and very unnatural and unhuman looking SJWs, because their DNA is the first to recognize. Their DNA is recognizing that they have no. There's something. The DNA within them is responding to the breakdown at the subatomic level first, because. And this is why it affects the ones who have no inner world first, because they would say, if like a person who has an inner world will stop and self-reflect. Okay, what am I? Do I really believe all this, or am I just following a program? Well, they don't do that. So, and what happens is, as they become more and more genetically and quantum distorted, they become angrier, more incensed, and they lash out and they want to control reality. And how they think they can control reality and keep it is by controlling other people through bullying and harassment. And that lasts for so long, then they collapse at that level, and then they're wrecking their environment. This is all part of a program that's running. No, it's not a program programmed by a super being or aliens or something. This is how reality is. It regurgitates itself. I say a lot of it has to do with the fact that we're discovering that human civilization goes back much further than Babylon. There's a lot to do with it. That unlocks genetic codes. And we have paganism growing very powerful in Europe. Again, people have all walked away from Christianity, and they haven't. So it's changing that. Amazing times, and we're on the cusp of it. We're heralding it. We are almost like the ones shouting to everybody. Something big is coming. Big changes are coming. This kind of thing, and so. You remember that. Don't get frustrated. This is reality falling apart. So a new reality, a new. These are souls being boiled before us into the void. So a new quantum structure and social and cultural world can begin. At the same time, don't be wasting your time getting frustrated and trying to change these people. You'll never change them. Laugh at the absurdity. We're living in a real life episode of Father Ted or Monty Python, the theatre of the absurd. Yeah, keep your faculties about you. Yes, it's terrible that what was evil what was done to that poor man in America by that copper. Yes, it was evil, but that doesn't mean that I have to join a crusade or fight against that crusade. I observe it, Again, you see, look, like I told you, the ones who are all who are the ones who are clapping. They're all the ones doing the Black Lives Matter program now. You know who they are. You don't have to throw them out of your life. You can slowly just push them away, and then bring people into your life, and who have risen above it by seeing the absurdity of it, but get on with their own thing and do their own thing, and don't do this stuff. The virtue signaling it's not hypocritical because they've no internal worlds. They've nothing inside there. They're just meat. And that meat is responding to triggers given to it them by authority figures that causes them to act cognitively. But there's absolutely nothing conscious in any of the decisions or the way they think or what they do. Look after yourselves. Love you motherfuckers to bits. If you want to help me out, there's a Patreon or buy a book down below. I promise you, I'm going, as soon as this fucking lockdown ends, me and my camera, bang, gone. Off to do make some new films. Until then, we're all taking care of each other. Love yous all. Bye.